Hello, in the previous video I talked about how to download Git and how to open the command line. In this one we'll be talking about more advanced command line commands such as creating files and creating folders. And we'll be downloading and installing VSCode, which is the supported text editor through the DSI, and one of the more powerful text editors you can have out there. So to start, we'll begin by downloading VSCode. Again, you can open up your preferred web browser and just search VSCode download and search it. You should go to this code.visualstudio.com/downloads, select the link, and then go to your user install and then 64-bit, because most of us have 64-bit operating systems these days. You select that. The downloader should start downloading here. It should take a few seconds. When it's finished, you can just select it and the downloader will open. And here you'll see the licensing agreement. You'll have to agree before you can continue. And again, we'll be going through and mostly using the defaults. One thing to be sure of is to make sure on this select additional tasks that you have add to path selected. And then I find it's nice sometimes to have the desktop icon, so I'm going to go create desktop icon as well. And that's twofold, so we can see it actually downloaded, and occasionally I just need to whip up a little script anywhere. It's easy to just click the icon and get it going. You'll continue. Right here it says ready to install. It tells you where it's storing it, what it's going to be called, and anything you selected. You want to make sure it says add to path here. And it'll require a shell restart like we talked about in the last video. You'll hit install and this will take a few minutes. All right, and when it's finished, you'll see this completed the Visual Studio Code setup wizard. You can unselect Launch VS Studio Code and click Finish to close this, and close the web page. So here you can see, we have the desktop item, Visual Studio Code. So we know it's downloaded correctly, but to check to make sure that it's working, we're going to have to go from the command line. So to run VS Code from the command line, you can type code dot, and this is saying open Visual Studio Code in the current directory. When you run that, it'll take a second, but you should see it starts to pop up here. On my very lightweight laptop, it takes a second to open. You can see it opened Visual Studio Code in that directory where I have a whole bunch of different things, a whole bunch of different files in there. But this is the general layout of Visual VS Code, where you'll have all your settings, your text documents in here. You can do install packages, run code, debug, everything inside of this editor. For now, we can close out of those. And let's investigate how to work through the command line a little bit more. On Windows, to view everything that's in your current file you're in, so in this case we're in the file users, the R, or on your laptop it should be users and then your username, you can just run the command dir. This is listing out everything inside of your directory. You can see it lists out everything saved inside here. You can see there's certain things like my desktop, my documents, my downloads, things like that. So to change into one of those, let's change into our desktops. You're going to type the command CD, and then desktop. And CD stands for change directory to desktop. So when we run this, you'll see this path is changed now. Users, your username, and then desktop. What that says is we've changed folders and gone a level down into our desktop folder. So if you run dir again, you'll see here that we have certain files like Atom. You can see my Atom here on my desktop. You can see the folder videos, and you can see the VSCode folder. So you've changed directories. So in here, I'm going to move this over really quickly. We're going to make a new directory. So the command to make a directory is mkdir. That stands for make directory. And then that is followed up by whatever you want to call the directory. I'll call this one test directory, dir. And so when you do that, it creates a directory. So when you run, you can see it popped up here, but when you run the dir command as well, you can see it added the test directory here. So if we want to move down into that directory, again, it's change directories and then the directory name. And there is autocomplete. So if you type most of the name out and hit tab, it'll autocomplete it for you. That you can see again, it's changed now to users, username, desktop, and your test directory. If you're in the dir in here, you can see it's an empty directory, right? It has the two files that are created when you create a directory, but nothing else. So let's say you want to make some files in here. You can make a file by typing the word type and then null, caret, or less than, greater than symbol. Then whatever you want to call the file. I'll call it test file.txt. So this is going to create an empty, that's what the null is standing for, file called test file. When you run that, it doesn't look like it did anything, but if you run the dir, here you can see that inside of the directory test dir, there's now a file, an empty, right, 0 file called test file. But it doesn't have to just be text files you can create. You can create any type of file. Let's say we wanted a new Python file. You could call it type null caret and then test underscore Python. And then the Python extension is .py. So that'll create a new Python file. And again, when you run the dir, you can see now we have our test file.txt and test python.py. So now, let's say you wanted to work on the coding projects inside this test dir directory in your Visual Studio Code. You can run the code command with the dot, which tells it to open Visual Studio Code in the current directory. And it'll take a second to open everything. But you'll see that we have an open VSCode page inside of our current directory where we can edit inside of those files. I don't know why I opened that one up, but you can see here we're in the test dir directory. And then you can see here's the test file. Open it, there's nothing, but we can type in it now. Hello to you all. Right? And that's just plain text. You can edit the Python file, right? We can write a function, def hello world. And then, right, you can write your Python code, print hello world. And to actually run this, you will need to download and install Python, but you can see, right, you can edit the files easily and quickly inside the VS Code editor. So when you're done editing, you can close the VS Code. And then let's say you want to move into this videos directory. So you can go back a level by typing cd ... which says is saying change directory to back a level. And again, if you see here, right, we've changed to the current directory is now just the desktop. And if I run that, you can see we have all the files on my desktop here. To remove or delete files and directories is the same command. So you're going to do rmdir for remove directory, and then /q/s, and those are both capital Q, capital S, and then whatever file you want to remove, test_dir. And when you run that, you'll see here the folder disappeared and the files were deleted. And if you run the dir command again, you can see it's no longer a part of the directory, right? We only have 2 files now, and we have Atom and VSCode still. So that has been a very brief, very quick introduction to the command line and how to run Visual Studio Code from the command line. You'll gain more experience with this as you program and as you work through the actual coding assignments on our platform. So in the next video, I'll be going over how to download Anaconda, install Anaconda, and what to change your Python type inside of Anaconda. Thanks, and I look forward to teaching that to you all.